With Democratic Socialists making gains in recent elections, Donald Trump and the rest of MAGA have resorted to calling them communists. Now, this is not something new for Republicans, but this time it has very different implications. Antifa has been designated as a terrorist organization, even though it's not even an organization. But people have already been sentenced to decades in prison for even being affiliated. During the Progressive era, and especially under the New Deal in the 1930s, workers made significant gains. Social safety nets, fair labor standards, and protections for union organizing. The result was the ending of the Great Depression. Most Americans, especially after World War II, began to drastically improve their lives. But the heads of corporations, on the other hand, were not doing quite as well. At least not enough to satisfy their constant hunger for more power and more money. By the 1960s, income inequality sunk to its lowest level ever in American history, all thanks to progressive policies like the GI Bill and Social Security. But in 1949, two significant things happened, things that would have the effect of erasing all of those gains. The Soviet Union conducted their first successful nuclear weapons test, and the Chinese Communist Party took over mainland China, an ally of both ours and the Soviets during World War II. For corporate interests, this was a huge opportunity to turn back the clock. Back to the era of the robber barons before Teddy Roosevelt broke up monopolies. The same era that Trump is successfully taking us back to. Combined with actual instances of Soviet spying, all of these things were enough to scare the American people right back into the hands of the oligarchs. It's what they call the Second Red Scare. Joseph McCarthy and his allies began the process of ruining the lives of hundreds of people. But they didn't just target communism. That wasn't enough because most people were supportive of egalitarian policies. And so they tied it to Christianity, making atheism and communism synonymous. And they got a lot of help from both the Soviet Union and China in that regard. All of a sudden, this was spiritual warfare. So when you saw your neighbor being dragged out of their home for being a suspected communist, you thought that they deserved it. And then to bring in even more people, you make it also about race and gender, combining it with the Southern strategy. People in the South were generally supportive of socialism, but only for whites. Their hate drove them right over to a welcoming anti-communist Republican Party, associating anyone they didn't like with atheistic communism. This is what eventually gave us Ronald Reagan to top off their success. But just like the late 1800s drove people to action because of poor economic conditions driven by income inequality, this also came crashing down with the housing crisis and Great Recession of 2008. Just like those who brought in Teddy Roosevelt and progressives to change the status quo, the new progressives brought in Barack Obama. But Obama wasn't able to create the kind of change that progressives were before and after World War II because of all of those other things that were brought in to demonize communism, race, and religion. And so the backlash against Obama was swift. It only took 2 years for the Tea Party to mobilize. And now we very well may be seeing a third Red Scare.